Good evening and welcome to this conversation on AI-enabled digital transformation for resilient manufacturing supply chains. Among all the buzzwords and hype on AI, it is no surprise that companies that are making progress on AI adoption are treating AI not just as an experiment. In fact, they're using AI to reshape business processes, decision-making, and they're doing it at scale. Those companies are going to be the leaders of tomorrow's digital economy. And that's why this conversation matters. Today, I have the pleasure to have with me Rachel Campbell, Chief of Staff of the CEO of Massy Group. Rachel plays a central role in driving Massy's priorities across digital adoption, AI implementation, operational excellence, and growth across 8 Caribbean markets. In addition to that, Rachel is running this trailblazer innovative project that has to do with the implementation of ChatGPT and AI readiness across Massy Group in order to get better productivity, or accelerating decision making, and improving the way that you have I would say, agile and more data-driven operations. Rachel,
Yes.
thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Rachel, Massy is running different industries like financial services, retail, distribution, energy, across 8 markets in the Caribbean. What do you think is the biggest impact that AI-enabled digital transformation can bring to more resilient distribution supply chains in Massy?
I think that's a good question. I think that there are 2 major opportunities for us. Firstly, given that we're across 8 different territories, we have a bit of fragmented decision making. What AI and the rolling out of ChatGPT will allow us to do is make more informed one Massy decisions across the portfolios and across the groups. So instead of having those fragmented decisions, fragmented learnings, you get to share it across the portfolios. That's 1. 2, I would say, given that we do have limited FX, we have to become very decisive and agile in our responsiveness to the supply chain and the different challenges that we experience, especially given the industries that we are in, given retail and distribution, also motors and energy as well. So I think, to summarize, it will allow us, 1, to be more agile and responsive in our supply chain, and it will also allow us to make better and more informed decisions across the portfolios rather than per territory.
Beautiful. So it's very interesting to listen to you breaking this silotic approach to have a more integrated model. If you have to pick one among the different opportunities that you have for procurement, for inventory logistics, distribution, fulfillment, which one would you pick and why?
I think it would be logistics and fulfillment when we think about where we are right now, which is in Barbados, where you see our retail and distribution having the largest footprint. We can think about a perfect example would be category management. Coming back to that supply chain, you have to consider what goes on the shelf and the needs and demands of the customer. That ChatGPT currently and AI will allow us to really take that historical data, be able to take research and forecasting insight to make better decisions, to have what is needed on the shelves, but also ensure that the customer experience is enhanced because we are forecasting or thinking about what the customer or perceiving what the customer would need in advance.
Okay, so I understand that predictive models are very relevant
Yes.
for you. In this case, it's very interesting to link performance with sustainability. So in terms of metrics, AI provides the biggest value as long as it is linked to the business performance. What are the 2 or 3 main KPIs or indicators that you have identified that you want to follow on?
So interestingly enough, I challenge the idea a little bit of us firstly going to KPIs. I think sometimes we set KPIs which identify AI usage or ChatGPT usage rather than business impact. So what we are doing are really finding the use cases and business impact that is tying back to the balance sheet that identifies the most impact, and we're tracking that quarterly per portfolio and per line of business. So what we do is, and that can be identified in the conversations that happen in our MBRs and our QBRs, because those identify the optimization that ChatGPT directly connects to.
Absolutely. I was having this conversation with a colleague of mine yesterday, and I was telling him that AI is as smart as the person that is using it.
Correct.
So, change management, everything that has to do with talent, leadership, those are key things that are needed in order to improve adoption of AI. Before moving to that question, I want to ask you, on the successful relationship story that we have between Massy and IDB Invest, what do you think that advisory services on digital transformation could bring to Massy Group in the future?
Great question. So just taking a note from what our CEO, James, would have shared earlier today on his panel with James Scriven, is that a partnership is critical to our growth, right? In different sectors. A friend of a friend of a friend. So what IDB invests in through advisory services, especially digital transformation, brings to us is access to be able to optimize and scale, especially, for example, in our Colombia region. You're Latin American, you can really identify and connect us to the right business partners to allow for that impact through change management and also that cultural reinforcement. A big part of change management is really being able to understand the cultural impact to get the outcome that you want. And I think that is what IDB brings. It brings that access to best practice and partners who are setting the standard that we can learn from.
Thank you very much for making this marketing of IDB Invest. But absolutely, we are in full agreement with you. Let's move into this crystal ball, trying to look into the future, not just for Massy, but other corporates in the Caribbean. What do you think that needs to be in place to have these AI responsible models that will look into things that we have already covered in this conversation, talent, leadership, change management? What are your learnings or your advice that you would give to these other enterprises?
I think if we use Massy as an example, leadership makes the decision to make the investment and they start the sponsorship of it, but it's reinforced by our people, and that has to be a constant push and a constant engagement with our people, because they are the ones on the front line, they are the ones in the operations that can really optimize the use of these tools and AI. What I would also say, it goes beyond the private sector. It goes in partnership with the public sector and the government for that legislation to support that responsible AI use and responsible governance that is reinforced by the private sector. I would also say if AI and responsible AI use is where we're going, we need to partner with the universities as well, because we have to get the generations coming up to understand what responsible AI use is and also reduce that fear and see it not as something that takes away from their intellect, but something that supports their development, their productivity, and really challenging their biases and helping them develop personally and professionally.
Well, Rachel, thank you very much for your answer, and thank you for sharing these thoughts and insight from Massy perspective. As a closing remark, I think that we are in agreement that digital transformation and AI has little to do with technology, has more to do with how to implement these models, working with people, taking into consideration the human in the center. So thank you very much for your thoughts, and wish you have a good evening.
Thank you so much, and thanks for that point. People are always at the center.
Obviously. Thank you very much, Rachel. Thank you.